I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian, and welcome to The Sidebar, a weekly show on the community, arts, culture, and more. Today we're talking to David Yancy. He's an artist, he's a tattoo artist, he's about to open a club and lounge up on Broadway, many other things. That's David Yancy. We'll start a conversation with him in just a moment. But a special thanks to our sponsor, Youth Villages. David, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I joked with you before we started that Robbie Grant, the executive director, friend of the show, we love when he recommends people, and he sent me this. Literally, this was the quote. You should talk to David, super interesting guy. He's a tattoo artist, does graffiti, just did an art thing in Chicago, is opening a new club at Broadway in Hollywood, and also he's a DJ on the station.
Yeah, I love
And you
Robbie.
do more than that. That doesn't even capture everything I've already learned, but you got a lot going on.
Yeah, appreciate Robbie, mentioning me. Yeah, I do have a lot going on. I'm just grateful to be able to be doing some things for the community, for Memphis, because, I've always worked for other people for so long. To be able to work for myself and give back, that's so fulfilling. Yeah.
Are you from Memphis?
I am originally from San Diego, California.
Okay. How long have you lived in Memphis?
So I lived in Memphis since 2010. So just a little backstory. My mother is from Walker Homes.
Okay.
And my dad is from Boxtown. That's like far south Memphis kind of area.
Yeah.
So he joined the Marines.
There we go. San Diego.
And
Okay.
hence I was born. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm a Memphian.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yes, 100%. Definitely.
Yeah.
Which of these many things that I just described, there's also a nonprofit we're going to talk about that's kind of tangent, that's related to this. Which was the first thing? Art
has always been a focus of mine since very young. My mom instilled art into me very young.
Yeah.
I was a very hyperactive kid. So what she would do was sit me down with a pen and paper and, draw.
Yeah.
And that caught my attention. And I've been doing it since then.
Yeah. Were you doing graffiti before tattoos, or was that which came first there? I know I'm focused on this timeline, but I just find it kind of fascinating.
It's cool. So the timeline is like, okay, I started drawing.
Yeah.
And then around middle school, I was introduced to graffiti.
Yeah.
And from graffiti, that led me into being a painter, artist. And then I started working large scale. And I would say about 8 years ago, I leaned in to start doing tattoos.
Okay. With graffiti, you were in San Diego then when you started?
So no, I'm a military brat.
Oh, okay. So
I'm a military brat.
Of course.
So the graffiti really picked up when I lived in Okinawa, Japan.
Oh.
I went to high school in Japan.
Okay.
And I lived in Japan for about 8 years. And I was really immersed in the hip hop culture there, graffiti, breakdancing, rapping, making music and things like that.
Yeah.
So it just all kind of like those elements helped me develop that culture.
We had Birdcap on the show, local artist who's got has stuff in the atrium here, and he has I can't remember if it was Okinawa, but he's got a big connection to Japan. Do you know Birdcap?
Yeah, I believe he has more ties to Korea because that's where he got his name from.
You're right. That's on me. But it's just an interesting thing because he also does, I don't know, graffiti, and he does some sculpture now, and he's just a super interesting guy. So when you started with graffiti, I don't mean this in a bad way. Was it just kind of over on the back of an abandoned building, or was it more?
So
how does that evolve?
Graffiti?
Because in Memphis, there's a ton of graffiti that's very much celebrated. I mean, it's really part of the character and the aesthetic of the city now. But that isn't always the case with graffiti.
No, it's not the case. So for me, I started off in a black book, which is just like a black book with white pages, and you kind of like develop your style on paper first.
Okay.
And there was a tunnel that I found, kind of like ducked off.
Yep.
And I went in there, I got me some spray cans, 1 or 2, just very beginner stuff from there. And, just practicing, it always is kind of illegal.
Yeah.
But nowadays, there's more opportunities. And that's why I started the Murals That Empower, because it's evolved from graffiti to mural work.
Yeah.
And mural work is more like street art for, the public.
Yeah.
And not necessarily illegal stuff.
Yeah. I mean, illegal's doing, I don't know. I mean, not allowed. I mean, I don't know. Murals That Empower is a nonprofit.
Yes.
That you started.
Yes, that's correct.
So, and who are you working with? And tell me the whole purpose of that.
The process is really fun because I get to go out and network. So I've been working with a lot of different schools and other nonprofits. So I just finished up a workshop, and it was a workshop with a nonprofit called REP, and they work with refugees. And it was an after-school program where I worked with about 10 refugee youth from Africa, and we did a cool mural, and they were so excited, man. We knocked this mural out in like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And it was a big wall, and they were just like, wow, like super just passionate about putting their art out there. I also worked with a veterans administration rehab facility where there's some displaced veterans, and they asked me to help like rejuvenate their facility. So I worked with about 8 veterans from different branches of the service, and we brought that to life, and it looked really cool, and it just changed the whole atmosphere.
Yeah.
It was just white walls. Now they have color. They have some brightness to make them feel better. Art changes.
And the connection to your father, or is that coincidental that you are a military brat?
So that is a connection through a program that helped me get back on my feet. So I have like a story.
Okay.
And I'm not ashamed of it. I dealt with addiction. I dealt with alcoholism.
Yeah.
And now I've been 10 years sober.
That's great.
And a couple years back, I was having some legal issues. And the Veterans Court Program, which is a program that assists veterans that are having legal issues, they help them get back on their feet. They help them deal with their charges.
Yeah.
They find them homes, find them jobs. So I went through that program. It was Veterans Court. And I graduated from that program, I would say about 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And they reached out to me, and it was like, hey, would you be interested in helping us do this?
That's
and I
amazing.
was like, sure, yeah.
So you were in the military as well?
That's correct.
Which branch?
I did 4 years in the U.S. Army.
Okay. Where were and what years roughly?
2002 to 2006.
That's an intense time.
Yeah.
I mean,
right after 9/11.
Post 9/11.
Yep.
Afghanistan.
Yeah,
Iraq,
there was a lot
all
going
that.
on.
Yeah.
I never got deployed, but I had friends, and my unit did get deployed, and there was just, getting out of the military in 2006 was very hard. I think getting out of the military for anybody and then dealing with civilian life is kind of tough.
Yeah.
And it was very depressing when I got out.
Yeah.
And I didn't cope really well with it. And, I self-medicated, and it took me into, certain places that I look back and, I learned from that type of stuff. I want to give a shout out to social workers.
Yeah.
And these social workers that are listening, thank you. Thank you for what you do, because they really cared.
Yeah.
And thank God for social workers.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And thanks for sharing that. Again, we're here with David Yancy. He's an artist, does tattoos, has a club lounge opening up on Broad and Hollywood. We'll talk about in a minute. Let's go to the tattoos.
Yeah.
I guess you can imagine some connection between the style of art, street art, graffiti, and then tattoos in many ways. I would
so the
imagine
tattooing,
that. Or is it totally different for you? Is it a different outlet?
It is all a form of expression. It's all of my ability to be able to, bring forth ideas. And that's what tattooing is. A lot of people approach me with concepts and ideas. Oh, I would love to have this tattoo, especially memorial tattoos. I really love to do those for like somebody that's still grieving or lost one or something in that type of nature. They have these ideas and they can't bring it to life. And I feel like that's something that I'm gifted to be able to do, is like, you tell me what you want and I can bring it to life on paper.
Yeah. Tattoos are fascinating to me for a couple, but the evolution of tattoos and now how common they are, and they're really much higher art. I mean, high art, that's almost like elitist to say, but there's a level of artistry that goes into tattoos that maybe wasn't there when, like, I grew up and my uncles had tattoos and it was just dumb tattoos, you know, and all that kind of stuff. I have a tattoo. It's a very dumb tattoo that I got 30 something years ago, which we'll talk about at some point here in this conversation. But now it's a kind of, it is artistic, the best of it. I mean, you just see people, you're kind of in a meeting somewhere, you're in a coffee shop, you look over like, whoa, they're kind of carrying around like a piece of art on their hand, on their arm, on their neck, wherever it is. It's
definitely
remarkable.
evolved. It's definitely evolved. You know, my shop, Ink Therapy, has definitely tried to bring the artistry to the tattoo world and make it available for people, because like you're saying, you see people with all these like magnificent pieces, and a lot of the artists have their books closed. They're not capable of getting tattooed by these people.
Okay.
And you wouldn't expect that with so many tattoo shops here in
Wait,
Memphis.
when you say the book's closed, that they just don't take any more
they're not
appointments?
taking any more appointments. Or it's hard to get in.
I didn't know. Okay.
So, you know, with my shop, we have walk-ins, we have availabilities. I have 8 different artists that are working for me. And we just been nominated Best Tattoo Shop in Memphis, according to the Memphis Flyer.
Yeah.
And,
that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
and where is Ink Therapy? Up on Broad?
Broad and Hollywood.
Broad and Hollywood.
Yes.
Okay. So next two are part of the
it's going to be a part of. So it's a huge complex there. The space is almost 4,000 square foot. I have a section where it's just a tattoo studio, and next door is opening Hollywood. It's been named the club because we have a great sound system, but it also could be an art gallery. It also can be, I have ideas where possibly making it in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
There's a lot of possibilities with that space.
Are you going to have wine?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got coffee, wine. Those are two of my favorite things.
There you go.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Okay. When is that opening?
It's still in the works. We've been pushed back actually several months by the city because, permits.
Oh, yeah.
It's a special use permit.
Okay.
But it's in the works. The city seems like they're intrigued. They're excited to help me get this going.
Okay.
And, it's just a process. So the Broad Avenue area, I had to go through the same thing with opening Ink Therapy. I had to get a special permit, and that took a while. So I know about patience on how to open up several businesses. Yeah.
We'll talk more here with David Yancy, and we'll definitely talk more about tattoos. I'm going to tell you the story of mine getting my tattoo because I think it'll make you laugh. But I need to do some housekeeping here. We're going to remind everyone this is The Sidebar. I'm Eric Barnes. The Sidebar airs on WYXR 91.7 every Thursday at 11:30. Focus on the community, arts, culture, everything in between. But it's not just a radio show. It's also one of many weekly podcasts we do at the Daily Memphian, including Bill Dree's Politics podcast, On the Record, the Memphis Grizzlies podcast hosted by Drew Hill and Chris Harrington. We brought back the Tigers podcast with John Martin, Parth, and Frank, all talking about basketball, football, sometimes both. And Soundbites, which is hosted by Jennifer Chandler, that also airs here on WYXR every Thursday at 11. Let me also mention the podcast version of Behind the Headlines. We host that at Daily Memphian and also wherever you get your podcasts. That's the show we do every week with WKNO in our 15th season, which is kind of insane. All of our podcasts, Daily Memphian site, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube now, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let me also mention you can get all the WYXR shows we do. That's Soundbites and Sidebar. And we're going to talk about David's show, which is, here it is, Hearing Colors. All those are available at WYXR.org, or you can download the WYXR app. That includes all the shows, talk and music, archives of those shows. If you're not a supporter of WYXR, it is nonprofit, listener-supported radio. So become a member, do a donation. If you become a member, you get all kinds of cool benefits and things that go with that, or you can do a one-off donation at the site or on the app. Also, the Daily Memphian, the largest newsroom in the region. If you haven't become a paid subscriber to the Daily Memphian, please consider becoming one. You can also do donations to the Daily Memphian. We have a big campaign going through year end. Coming up soon on the sidebar, the salad bar. Natalie, I almost called it the salad bar. But coming up soon, George Abbott talking about Civic Commons. George is a great guy, used to be at the Memphis River Parks. He now works for the Hyde Foundation. We've also got Bruce Newman and Sarah Houston. Bruce is a musician. He's got a benefit coming up for Protect Our Aquifer. And we also had Laura Chilton, a writer, talking about her new book. On Behind the Headlines, I mentioned, that airs over on WKNO, or you can get archives of those shows. We recently had Doug McGowan from MLGW. We had Marie Fagans from the school system, and Paul Young, Memphis mayor. A little bit more housekeeping, then we'll get back to talking to David. Coming up soon is our commercial real estate annual business seminar. It's the biggest of the ones we do. That's December 5th at 3 p.m. at the Botanic Garden. Rick Shadyac, the head of ALSAC, is going to be there talking about all the development they've got going on. We've also got industry overviews. It's a great kind of connection, sort of business connection. Even if you're not in commercial real estate, you go to, it's a great event. So that is at the Botanic Garden, December 5 at 3 p.m. You can go to the Eventbrite is the easiest way to do it. Honestly, go to Eventbrite, search for Daily Memphis, and you'll be able to buy tickets. We recently had our Developing Memphis seminar. That was with Chance Carlisle, Ernest Strickland, Stephen Townsend, talking about the next phase of development at the airport. It was a great conversation. If you missed that, you can go to the Daily Memphians YouTube site and search for Developing Memphis. You'll get the full video of that there. But we are here with David Yancy, talking about art, talking about tattoos. So I'm going to tell you the story of my tattoo.
Yeah,
so I got a tattoo. I was 18. Everybody asked me, and back then it was weird to get a tattoo. This is a long time ago. This was like 1987. And we woke up and we were in Tacoma, Washington, where I grew up, south of Seattle, big military area there, Fort Lewis and McCord and all that. And for some reason, me and two friends were like, we should get tattoos today. So we drive to Seattle. This is back when Seattle, before it was Seattle, right?
Yeah.
It was before Microsoft, it was before Amazon. And we wanted to go down to Pike Place Market, which was not what it is now. It's a big tourist trap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. It's like a market, and there's all these nice hotels and restaurants and stuff. Well, back then it was actually slightly scary. I mean, it was sort of prostitutes and people on the street, and it was a really rough area. So we go into there, we find some tattoo place. We go in, we spend hours waiting. I don't know why, to get our tattoos. But also, we have no money. We just have no money. And so I had, like, a friend of mine, one guy had $20. My friend Brian only had 10, and I'm pretty sure I had $15. And then we had a little bit of money to get back to Tacoma with gas. So my friend, one friend wanted to get a yin yang thing on his wrist. He knew exactly what he wanted. Brian, one of my best friends, wanted to get a pair of dice. He thought that'd be funny on his shoulder. Just thought it'd be really funny. And I didn't know what I wanted to get. And so as we're driving up there, I kind of it was very early in the morning for us on a Saturday. I said, bat signal. I'm getting a bat signal.
There it is. Yeah.
There it is. And what everyone will ask me for the last 37 years is, big Batman fan? I'm like, no, I'm not at all. I don't. And at the time, Batman was all kind of, there were no Marvel, no DC comic
not
movies,
the
no
cool
Marvel.
one. It was the old one.
This was like, the old TV one. It was kind of silly. I never thought it was like cool. I just thought it was sort of silly. And I really didn't think this through. You don't think through the permanence of a tattoo until you get it. So then we're sitting there. First, David gets his yin yang. It pretty much goes okay. Brian wants to get 2 dice, but he's only got $10. They're like, well, you can't get 2 dice, so he gets a die.
Oh my God.
And then he gets, the die is positioned so that it's 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots. The minimum amount of time and ink that go into this. And then they're drawn out, my bat, and it's just a disaster. This guy, and everybody's really jacked up on something. I mean, the guy, the tattoo artist, the guy who's helping him, they finally draw something out. Justin was the name. I always remember that. Justin was the tattoo guy. He goes, okay, you ready? I'm in the chair. He leans over me, and he's about to start. It's on my chest. He's leaning over me, and he goes, I haven't slept in 24 hours. Are you ready? And then I noticed he'd been drinking Jolt, like the precursor to Red Bull.
Yeah.
He'd been drinking Jolt the whole time
and
going back and forth to a back room doing I don't know what. And I have a really bad tattoo as a result of this. That I at one point thought about like either getting fixed or removed. Now I just kind of love it. It's just it's part of me.
You just gotta lean into it.
Goofy part of me.
But we do cover-ups.
No,
we do cover-ups. Yes, we sure do. I specialize in cover-ups.
Do you
I
really?
love to do cover-ups. Yeah. But that was the whole and it's still kind of is like that. I'm not saying this about an all tattoo shop.
Sure.
But the drug and alcohol use, it takes away from the artistry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like I say, I'm grateful to be sober and to be able to like really dedicate my time and expertise to putting out good work. And like I say, I have my other artists and my apprentices, and I really press the issue of being a sober shop.
Yeah.
Just because like I've worked in other places and it's been like that.
Yeah.
And the reason why that the tattoos don't come out is because their focus isn't tattoos. Their focus is other things. Or they're on
means
something.
to an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Well,
yeah, I thought about getting a second tattoo. I don't want this one covered up because now it's just like part of me. I've had it for
It's a memory
2/3 of my life, and then I was thinking about getting another tattoo when I turned 40, and my kids really wanted me to, and I didn't. And now I'm just gonna stick with the one bad tattoo.
There you go. Yeah.
Which I've always said that we should do like this would really raise like at least $20 as a fundraiser for Daily Memphian. Like people could bid on seeing my tattoo. I think donors could bid, right? Yeah, I don't think it'd raise very much money, but I think it'd be funny.
We did a fundraiser for the last pledge drive, and I did tattoos inside of WYXR.
Oh, that's right.
And we did a WYXR tattoo on a buddy of mine's, and we were like, did each letter slowly. And you're like, hey, if you want us to finish this Y, you got to send in some money. We made some money though.
Nice,
it can make some money.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind next year for a pledge drive. Something like that. What else? The show. We hadn't talked about that on WYXR.
Yeah. So the Hearing Colors Radio, every Wednesday at 11 p.m. I love that show. I love being able to, give a different sound to the Memphis radio, but WYXR provides almost 90 different types of DJs, which is phenomenal for a city. I play a lot of different sounds, especially a lot of like dance music, house music. I play some Amapiano, which is a new sound from Africa, jungle, all kinds of different things. Sometimes I even play like cumbia, Latin music, reggae. It's a really open format.
Yeah. Do you do the show live most of the time? Or you do it live?
It's all live.
Yeah. So you're a night owl.
Yeah, I'm a night owl. Come in. I do interviews every once in a while because it's based around art. So, I've done an interview with Birdcap where I have the artists come in and they pick their 3 top songs.
Yeah.
And we talk about those songs, why they matter to them.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about their art careers. Nothing too crazy, but I do interviews every once in a while on there.
Yeah.
Just to break it up.
Yeah. And again, that's Hearing Colors every Wednesday at 11 on WYXR. But circling back to the lounge bar, what was the impetus to do that?
So I've always done events for a long time. So I have an event called Art Bazaar, and that's what Robbie was talking about, the show that I did in Chicago.
Okay.
So Art Bazaar, it's an event based around local artists, vendors that want to put their artwork out there, but don't have the outlet to put their artwork out. So that's what that event is about. So I did that in Chicago, but I've been doing it here in Memphis for almost 4 years.
Okay.
So I just kept having event spaces fall through.
Yeah.
Like I had one for a while.
It's a tough business.
Yeah, I had one for a while. It was a warehouse. I loved it. It was cool, underground vibes, had enough space to do what I needed to do to provide like 50 different vendors, live performances, DJs. That fell through. They closed. I was doing it at Black Lodge. And sad to say, but they're no longer around no more.
Yeah.
And so a space opened up next to mine. I was like, this could possibly work.
Which space, what was in that space? That
There was an artist named Where's Francis.
Okay.
She's a local artist. She's very talented. She had this space and it was too big for her.
Gotcha. Okay. So I've been by that space a million times.
Yes.
I think I can picture it.
And, it was just a blessing in disguise. She was leaving. I looked in there and she wasn't using the full thing.
Yeah.
There's like extra spaces that like just weren't being used. And the landlord is super cool. I really appreciate him to be able to work with like the underdogs. He cares about the underdog because he's an underdog himself. Gilbert Flores is his name. And, you know, he believed in me with the tattoo shop. So he kind of worked with me.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I had to do all these permits. So I actually had the space for almost 4 months without even doing a tattoo in it before the shop opened.
Gotcha.
So when the shop did open and we won Best of Memphis and it kind of highlights like, you know, like the underdogs can win, he's like, well, let's see what we can do with this space.
Yeah.
And so we seen that like the Broad Avenue area was, you know, a lot of the businesses aren't thriving too well down there. You know, we had a couple of restaurants closed down there. The other local businesses are doing fairly well, but there's just a gap.
Yeah.
And I felt like, you know, I do music. I do an event called Vibes. This is like a dance party. I know a lot of other entrepreneurs that do events, and it was just a lot of like there was a space where I was like, okay, let me see if this could work. So I'm trying it out.
Almost out of time. 2 things. How can people learn more about all the things you've got going on?
I have a personal Instagram.
Okay.
It's DY3Art. That's my personal page. Also, that's my website, DY3Art.
Okay.
That's my website.
And people can get to all the different parts and pieces.
I have
like
a LinkedIn from there that you can go to all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And last question I always try to ask people, first concert you went to?
My first concert I went to, I would have to say it was Nas.
Okay.
When I lived in Thailand. Yeah,
when I lived in Bangkok. Just a travelogue with you. We'll do a whole show with you sometime and just talk about your travels. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was my first because I love Nas.
Okay.
I love Illmatic. And that was one of my real first like hip hop shows I got a chance to go see.
Okay.
Yep.
David Yancy, artist, all these things going on. Thanks so much for being here. Again, it's DY3Art that people can get to you, get your social media and so on. That is all the time we have this week, though. Thanks for joining us. Please do join us again next week.